Okay, one of these days I'll figure this phone out. Alright, I've made a couple of videos on how to make fire. One of the things that I haven't discussed, and I really should be ashamed of myself, and so should a lot of the other guys out there that are doing videos on how to build a fire. Something that I've noticed, I may have just overlooked it, is putting out a fire. Honestly, that's just as important as being able to make one. Because, well, most forest fires, wildfires, etc., are caused by negligence. Flicking a cigarette out of a window during drought conditions, starting a campfire during drought conditions, just being careless, really, when you get down to it. Sorry about the weird bad lighting. I'm kind of pacing around in the out in my yard. But yeah, when you make a fire, when you leave, if you're just, I don't care if you're just camping, if you've got a fire pit in your backyard, if it's a survival situation, it doesn't matter. You have got to be careful with your fire. You've got to be really, really careful about how you put that fire out. Douse it completely with water. Stir that up with a shovel till it's soup. Use a stick. It does, whatever it takes until there is nothing left smoldering. There's no steam coming out of that soup you've just made in your fire pit. Stick your hand in it. Make sure it's cool, because if it's still hot, you've got the potential to have a disaster. So when you're camping, making s'mores in the backyard with the kids, whatever, when you're done, when it's time to put that fire out and go home or go inside, or you've been rescued, make sure that fire is completely and totally extinguished. Wildlife, the neighbor's house, your house, depends on it. Because a bad wind can kick up at any time, and even wet grass can catch fire if you've got enough heat. When you're making a fire, make sure that you've got a good barrier between the foliage and that fire pit. Whether it's rocks, soaked down, wet, soggy logs will work for a while. A hole dug in the ground with a berm made around it from the dirt that you dug the hole from, or dug from the hole, I should say. There's got to be a good safe barrier around your fire pit. If you're just building a surface fire, keep at least 4 feet from, you need at least a 4-foot barrier. If it's just an open ground fire with nothing surrounding it, make sure you've got at least 4 feet between any plants and your fire. And if you've got a bonfire, make sure you've got more than 4 feet. If you've got a fire 4 feet across, it's a good idea to have at least 6 feet of clear earth surrounding it. You can't be too safe. Don't have your tents closer than about 10 feet from it, especially if you're using a nylon tent. A nylon tent will go up so fast, it's unreal. With single spark, and your nylon tent can be foobar. Flame retardants are basically a joke when it comes to nylon. I've seen nylon tents that were sprayed recently with a fire retardant waterproofer. It was a dual purpose, and it melted. It didn't burst into flames, but it started melting, and just a little hole turned into a big hole, turned into a big hole, and pretty soon you could walk through the dang thing without having to worry about it. I'm not going to go buy a tent to show this. I don't have that kind of budget. That's why I don't have a lot of fancy equipment, high-end knives, or any of that. I have literally, when I've survived, and I've survived many times, it has been off of what little equipment I've had. I've gone out with literally as little as a canteen full of water and a knife. And not even a high quality, high dollar, fancy knife. It was a basic knife. You know, I had an Air Force survival knife. I've had a Marine Corps issue K-bar that I purchased at a survival store, or surplus store. I had, you know, a cheap Walmart Swiss Army knife, and that's all I had, and some water. And there, a couple of times I didn't even have the water. Yeah, I push my limits. I love to push my limits. I believe the only limits a person has are the limits they impose on themselves. You will learn, or you will die. It's really that simple. I've never been in a situation where I had to rely on a rescue. I've always found a way to get myself out of a situation. Does that make me better than other people? No. I've just never found myself in a situation where I required rescue. Well, sort of. There was a time when I was camping that I got flooded and had to rely on my cell phone to call the fire department just to help me get across a creek that the waters were getting deeper and deeper. I was already up to my knees, had a little dog with me, and I had to call the fire department to come throw me a line so that I could get across. That's all I needed, was to get a line across to that high ground, because I wasn't about to try to get across that creek and to the higher ground and risk having myself or my dog swept away when maybe 300 yards away was a river that was coming up over, and it was downstream from where I was, that was flowing at speeds I know I couldn't have gotten through. And I'm a strong swimmer. I've been in floods. I've been in some bad situations in my life. Am I saying I'm the best out there at survival? Certainly not. Am I the worst? Certainly not. I'm still alive. If I was the worst, I'd have died a long, long time ago. But yeah, back to the original topic though, fire safety. If you're going to make a fire, make sure you can put that fire out. Plenty of water nearby, access to water quickly in the event that the fire starts to spread. Try to keep dry leaves back from it, and just use your head, use some common sense. And I know common sense isn't that common anymore, but do try to use it. Really don't have anything else to add to the topic other than, douse it with water, bury it, dig it up, shuffle that stuff around, stir it up to the point where nothing is left to smolder, because a smoldering fire is one that can come right back to life. So, but that's all from me today on about putting out a fire. If you guys want, I can post a video on a good way to do it. For those of you who have no experience out in the woods, and just you're wanting to learn as much as possible, that's great. Go to people who have experience. My sinuses are acting up today. Sorry about the sniffling. Go to people who have been camping lots of times. Don't run off into the woods your first time camping and don't. That's my best advice. Use that gray goo between your ears. Be careful with how you set your fire. More careful with how you put your fire out. The most important thing, though, is making sure you've got a safety barrier between the surrounding foliage, be it trees, grass, dry leaves, wet leaves, it doesn't matter. If there are plants nearby, plants are flammable. There's no such thing as a plant that won't catch fire. If there is, somebody please tell me what kind of plant that is, because I want to make a house out of it. But Anyway, this is Greg with Firehammer Survival signing off. You have a great day and be safe. Stay hydrated.